Ethan Ward sat alone on the cold metal bench of the Galactic High Court. Around him, thousands of alien eyes stared from the gallery. The air shimmered with heat from the energy shields. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from confusion. He had no idea why he was here. He was just a human engineer, working on a mining system at the colony's edge. Yet now he was standing trial before the most powerful council in the galaxy. The consul entered through a tall golden gate. His long robe glowed with silver threads and his pale blue eyes shone like ice. Every alien in the room bowed their heads. Ethan stayed still, unsure if humans were supposed to do the same. Two tall guards with crystal armor stood behind the consul, holding long staffs that hummed with quiet power. A robotic voice spoke from above. Case number 77A. Defendant, human male, Ethan Ward. Charges, violation of consular contract, breach of interplanetary honor code. Ethan's heart raced. He whispered to the translator orb on his shoulder. I didn't break any contract. I was fixing their water system. The orb's green light blinked. Your statement has been recorded. The consul raised his hand. The hall fell silent. His voice was calm and cold. Human, you stand accused of dishonoring my family. Your actions caused shame to fall upon my bloodline. Do you understand what that means in our culture? Ethan tried to speak. Sir, I don't even know what I did. A low hiss ran through the crowd. The consul's face did not move, but his tone hardened. Ignorance is not innocence. A human cannot touch a sacred symbol without permission. You touched the relic of my ancestors. Ethan's eyes widened. He remembered that moment. He had been working in the consul's temple garden, cleaning the pipes. A small golden sphere had rolled near his foot. He had picked it up without thinking. The guards had rushed him, shouting words he didn't understand. That was 3 days ago. Now he was standing on trial for it. I didn't know it was sacred, Ethan said quietly. I'm sorry. The consul stared at him for a long time. Apology is not enough. Honor must be restored. Balance must return. A murmur filled the courtroom. The consul turned to the judge's circle. They nodded slowly. A glowing seal appeared above their heads, showing the decision had been made. The court has reached a verdict, the robotic voice said. To restore the honor of the consul's house, the human male Ethan Ward will be bound by the right of union. Ethan frowned. Bound by what? The crowd gasped. The consul spoke again, his voice echoing across the chamber. You will marry my granddaughters. Both of them. It is the only way to repair the dishonor your touch has caused. Ethan's legs nearly gave out. He stared in shock. Marry, that's insane. I can't marry anyone, let alone. Two figures entered the hall. They walked side by side, tall and graceful, their silver skin shining under the lights. The older one, Lira, had calm golden eyes and hair like liquid glass. The younger Sael had bright violet eyes full of fire. They looked more like living art than people, but their expressions were cold and distant. These are my granddaughters, said the consul. They will share your fate. By binding you to them, our bloodlines will merge. The curse of dishonor will end. Ethan shook his head. I'm human. I can't even survive your planet's traditions. This is crazy, the guard stepped closer. Silence, the voice ordered. The verdict is final. Lira stepped forward first. Her voice was soft but steady. Grandfather, must this be done? He is not of our kind. Sael glared at Ethan. He touched the relic. He should be punished, not joined to us. The consul raised his hand again. Enough, the law is older than any of us. The human will marry you both. The ceremony will take place tomorrow. Ethan could hardly breathe. Tomorrow? You can't just decide that. The consul leaned forward, his gaze sharp. Do you wish to defy a lawful court? Refusal means imprisonment. Your kind has no embassy here. Ethan's mouth went dry. He looked around, but no one moved. Every alien in the court seemed to agree with the decision. He realized how alone he was. No one would save him. He was a foreigner in a galaxy that followed rules beyond his understanding. As guards took him by the arms, Lira's eyes met his. For a moment he saw something there, not anger, but sadness. Sael turned away, her jaw tight, hiding her emotion. The consul watched in silence as Ethan was led from the chamber. Outside the court, the twin suns of Thalvar burned bright against the sky. The air shimmered with violet heat. Ethan was placed in a silver transport pod. The doors closed and the machine lifted off toward the consul's estate. He sat in silence, his thoughts spinning. He had been forced into a marriage with two alien women from the most powerful family on the planet. He didn't know their customs. He didn't even know if humans and their kind could live together. But something deep inside him whispered that this verdict was not only about honor, it was about power. Far behind him, inside the courtroom, the consul stood alone. He placed one hand on the golden relic and smiled faintly. "The prophecy begins," he said in a low voice. "At last the human key has arrived." The transport sped across the glowing sky, carrying Ethan toward a fate written long before he was born. The transport pod glided through the violet skies, carrying Ethan toward the consul's private estate. Below him stretched a land of silver forests and glowing rivers. Every mountain shimmered as if made of glass. It was beautiful, but Ethan felt none of its peace. He had been forced into marriage with two alien granddaughters of the most powerful man on the planet. He did not even know their names a few hours ago. The pod landed inside a grand courtyard surrounded by tall spires and flowing energy lights. The air smelled like iron and rain. Guards opened the door and motioned for him to step out. He walked between them, his boots echoing on the crystal floor. The consul's emblem hung above the gate, a circle of stars around a single flame. It seemed to watch him wherever he moved. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You look frightened, human." Ethan turned to see Lira. She stood at the doorway wearing a long white gown that shimmered like mist. Her golden eyes studied him calmly. "I am Lira, eldest granddaughter of the consul. You may call me by name. My sister will join us soon." Ethan nodded politely. "I didn't ask for any of this. I just want to understand why it's happening." Lira gave a faint smile. "Few ever understand our grandfather's reasons. But once he gives a command, even stars cannot refuse." She led him inside. The palace halls were filled with glowing plants that pulsed like heartbeats. Statues of past rulers lined the walls. Every pair of eyes seemed to follow Ethan as he passed. The silence of the place made him uneasy. They entered a chamber with a wide window that opened to the twin suns. A table floated in the center, surrounded by light chairs that adjusted their shape to whoever sat on them. Lira gestured for him to sit. Servants poured a clear liquid that tasted faintly sweet, but Ethan could barely swallow. His mind kept repeating the same question. Why him? A sharp sound echoed as the second sister entered the room. Sael walked with quick steps, her violet eyes burning. She was younger, with short silver hair and a restless energy. She wore dark armor instead of a gown. "So this is the human," she said coldly. He looked soft. "Are we truly expected to bond with him?" Lira sighed. "Sael, it is not his fault." Sael ignored her and walked closer to Ethan. "Do you have any idea what your touch caused?" "That relic you picked up was our ancestors' heartstone. Only blood of the house may touch it safely. You broke a law older than the stars." Ethan met her gaze. "I told the consul I didn't know." "It was an accident." Sael leaned closer. "Accidents do not matter in this house. Here, every mistake has a price." The tension grew until Lira raised her hand. "Enough, he is our husband by law now." "Whether we wish it or not." Sael turned away, her voice low. "Then the law is cruel." She left the room, the doors sliding shut behind her. Ethan looked at Lira. "Does she hate me?" Lira looked out the window at the glowing sky. "No, she hates fate, we both do. But hatred will fade with time." A long silence filled the chamber. Ethan noticed a faint mark glowing near Lira's collarbone, shaped like a circle with 3 lines. "What is that symbol?" he asked. Lira touched it gently. "The mark of the binding. It appeared the moment the court declared the verdict. It means our lives are now tied to yours. If one falls, I'll fall." Ethan felt a chill run through him. "That's not marriage. That's a cage." Lira's expression softened. "Perhaps. But cages can protect as well as trap." As night fell, the lights outside dimmed. From the window, Ethan saw strange creatures flying between towers, leaving trails of blue fire in the air. The planet looked alive, yet every shadow seemed to hide secrets. Before she left the room, Lira turned to him once more. "Rest, human. Tomorrow begins the union ceremony. It will be watched by the entire world. You must not show fear. If you do, they will think humans are weak." Ethan sat alone as the door closed. The palace was quiet, but he could feel eyes on him through the walls. Somewhere deep in the halls, he heard Sael's voice whispering in anger, and another older voice replying with a laugh. He realized then that this marriage was not meant to unite families. It was part of something far older and far more dangerous than he could imagine. And as the twin moons rose over the alien palace, Ethan swore to find out the truth behind his forced union, even if it meant challenging the consul himself. The next morning came with a strange silence. The palace was wrapped in soft mist, and the two suns rose behind tall crystal towers. Ethan woke to the sound of distant bells. A servant entered and handed him a robe made of thin silver fabric. "The consul requests your presence in the Hall of Union," the servant said without emotion. Ethan followed through long corridors that curved like the inside of a shell. Every wall glowed with soft light, showing symbols he couldn't read. The air smelled faintly of salt and metal. The palace felt alive, as if it was breathing around him. When he entered the Hall of Union, he saw Lira and Sael waiting. Lira wore a white ceremonial dress that shimmered like water. Sael stood beside her in dark armor lined with gold. The consul sat on a raised platform surrounded by silent advisors. The ceremony began. Strange music filled the air, made of sounds that didn't seem human or alien but something in between. A glowing band of light wrapped around Ethan's wrist, linking him to both sisters. The consul raised his staff. "From this moment your lives are one. The curse of dishonor is lifted." Applause filled the hall, but Ethan felt none of it. He could see the sadness in Lyra's eyes and the quiet anger in Sael's face. The ceremony ended quickly. The consul spoke to his guards, then looked down at Ethan. "You are now part of my house. You will live here under my protection. Do not attempt to leave the estate." Ethan bowed his head slightly. "Yes, sir." Later that day he explored the palace grounds. Lira walked with him, silent most of the way. The gardens were filled with trees that glowed with silver fruit. A faint hum came from the ground like hidden machines running beneath the soil. Lira finally spoke. "Do not wander at night. Some doors in this house were not meant to be opened." Ethan looked at her. "What kind of doors?" She didn't answer. Her golden eyes only stared ahead, full of something like fear. That evening, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her words. He walked out of his room and followed the narrow corridor that led to the lower halls. The air grew colder as he moved deeper. The lights on the wall dimmed, reacting to his presence. He reached a door carved with symbols. It pulsed softly as if alive. When he touched it, it opened with a quiet sound. Inside was a dark chamber filled with blue light. Strange floating crystals surrounded a large stone tablet in the center. On it were carvings that looked like humans standing beside the consul's ancestors. Ethan stepped closer. The carvings showed a human hand touching the same golden relic he had picked up. Below it were words in alien script. The translator orb whispered in his ear. "Prophecy of the binding. The blood of stars and the blood of men shall unite to awaken the heart below." He froze. "The heart below?" he whispered. A soft voice answered from behind. "You shouldn't be here." Ethan turned. It was Sael. Her armor shimmered faintly under the blue light. "You heard me. This place is forbidden." "I just wanted to understand," Ethan said. "Why was I chosen? What is this prophecy?" Sael looked at the carvings. Her expression softened for a moment. "Our family carries an ancient curse. The relic you touched is tied to it. Every few centuries, a human appears who matches the prophecy's mark." "You are that human." Ethan's heart pounded. "You mean this was planned?" She nodded slowly. "The consul knew. He waited for you. He believes your union will awaken something buried deep under this palace." Before Ethan could ask more, a loud sound echoed through the hall. The wall glowed red. Sael grabbed his arm. "Come. If the consul finds us here, he will have us both punished." They ran through the corridors until they reached his chamber. Sael stopped at the door. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Forget what you saw. The consul's secrets are not for you to uncover. If you dig too deep, you will not return." She left before he could answer. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, breathing hard. The carvings replayed in his mind. A human and two alien figures bound together by light. A prophecy written in stone. He looked out at the glowing city through the window. The world outside was quiet. But deep beneath the palace, something ancient was waiting. And Ethan could feel it was already awake. The next day, the palace felt heavier than before. The halls were quiet, the air cold, and every corner seemed to watch Ethan as he walked. Servants avoided his eyes. Guards followed him at a distance, pretending not to. He knew Sael's warning was real, but his mind refused to rest. The carvings he had seen haunted him, a prophecy, a curse, and something sleeping beneath the palace, and all linked to him. Lira found him in the courtyard, standing under the silver trees. She looked pale, her eyes shadowed by worry. "You went where you shouldn't," she said softly. "I can see it in your face." Ethan didn't deny it. "I had to know." "There were carvings. They showed humans beside your ancestors. The translator called it the prophecy of the binding." "What does it mean?" Lira looked away. "It means our family is cursed by our own greed. Long ago, my ancestor made a pact with humans from another world. They built this palace together and sealed a power deep below. But when the pact was broken, the curse began. Every few centuries, one human is born who can open the seal. My grandfather believes that human is you." Ethan's voice dropped. "And that's why I was forced to marry you and Sael?" Lira nodded slowly. "The right of union is the key. Our blood combined with yours creates the signal that can wake what sleeps beneath us." Ethan felt his stomach twist. "What exactly sleeps beneath us?" Lira's golden eyes filled with fear. "A machine heart that was meant to bring eternal life to our kind. Instead, it brought madness. It turned those who touched it into hollow shells. The last time it was awakened, an entire city disappeared." Ethan's hands clenched. "Then why would your grandfather want to awaken it again?" "Because he believes he can control it," she said quietly. "He thinks your human nature will balance the power. He thinks this time it will obey." Ethan stepped back. "He's using us." Lira nodded again. "He uses everyone, even his own blood." A heavy silence settled between them. Then Lira touched his arm. "There is more you should see. Come tonight after the sunset. I will take you to the old archives. But no one must know, not even Sael." When night came, Ethan waited by the garden gates. Lira appeared, cloaked in dark fabric. Together they moved through hidden corridors that twisted deep under the palace. Strange lights pulsed through the walls like veins carrying energy. At last they entered a small chamber filled with floating holographic crystals. Lira touched one and a projection appeared. A human man standing beside an alien woman who looked just like Lira. "This was the first union," she whispered. "He was called Captain Ward, the founder of your bloodline. The same name as yours. When the machine heart awakened, he tried to stop it. He sealed himself inside it. My ancestors swore the curse would never break until a man with his blood returned." Ethan stared at the image. "Ward, my family name. Are you saying I'm his descendant?" "Yes," Lira said. "The consul found your DNA records when you came to work here. That is why you were brought to trial. Everything was planned." Before Ethan could speak, a deep sound echoed through the walls. The ground trembled slightly. Lira froze. "He started the ritual early." "What ritual?" Ethan asked. She grabbed his hand. "The awakening. He's already trying to open the chamber. If he succeeds, the curse will rise again." They ran through the tunnels, following the growing vibration. The light around them flickered red. They reached a huge door covered in moving symbols. The consul stood before it, his staff glowing with energy. He turned slowly as they entered. "You should not be here," he said calmly. "The prophecy is almost complete. The relic will awaken and the galaxy will remember my name." Lira stepped forward. "You will destroy us all." The consul smiled. "Perhaps, but from destruction comes rebirth." He pointed his staff at Ethan. "The human key is ready. The seal will open with your touch." Before Ethan could move, the floor beneath them cracked with blinding light. The door began to rise. A cold wind rushed out, carrying the sound of 1,000 whispers. Lira screamed his name, but it was too late. The forbidden heart of the palace had awakened. The ground shook under Ethan's feet as the great door opened. A wave of light burst from the chamber and filled the air with a sound that was not quite thunder and not quite a scream. The consul stood tall at the edge, his staff glowing brighter than before. His eyes reflected madness and triumph. Ethan shielded his face from the heat. Beside him, Lira fell to her knees, clutching her chest. The mark on her collarbone burned like fire. "He's drawing power from us," she gasped. "The ritual connects our life force to the heart." The consul raised his staff higher. "It is destiny. The machine heart awakens. The bloodlines unite." A huge crystal sphere rose slowly from the ground. Inside it pulsed a living core, glowing red and gold. Streams of light reached toward Ethan like hands trying to pull him in. His body stiffened. He felt the mark on his wrist burn. Lira screamed, "Fight it, Ethan. If it takes control, you'll be lost like the others." Ethan could feel voices whispering inside his head, ancient words mixed with pain and command. He saw flashes of the past, human engineers, alien rulers, the moment they sealed the heart centuries ago. He saw Captain Ward, the man who shared his blood, standing where he now stood, shouting the same words, "Stop the heart before it devours everything." Ethan clenched his fists. "I'm not your key. I'm not your tool." The consul turned toward him, his smile cold. "You misunderstand your place, human. Without you, my empire dies. With you, I become eternal." Lira rose to her feet, her body trembling. "You'll kill us both if you continue." The consul's eyes glowed brighter. "Then so be it. The blood of sacrifice fuels power." Ethan felt the ground split open. Streams of light circled him. The relic in his wrist vibrated, spreading warmth through his veins. He looked at Lira. "There has to be a way to stop him." She nodded weakly. "The heart obeys emotion more than command. It was built to mirror the strongest will. If your heart rejects his, it might break the connection." Ethan focused his thoughts. He pushed against the whispers inside his mind. Memories of his old life on Earth flooded back. The smell of rain, the laughter of friends, the warmth of home. The human side of him began to fight back. The light around him flickered. The consul's voice grew louder. "Kneel, human. Accept your purpose." Ethan took a step forward. "No. I choose my own purpose." The energy crackled. Sparks filled the chamber. Lira tried to pull him back, but he moved closer to the glowing heart. He reached out his hand, not in surrender, but defiance. The voices screamed, but he didn't stop. When his palm touched the heart, a blinding flash filled the room. The consul shouted in rage, his body surrounded by twisting energy. The floor shook like an earthquake. Lira covered her face as the wind roared. Then everything went silent. The light dimmed. The consul fell to his knees, his staff shattered. His voice was weak but full of disbelief. "You overpowered the link. No one has ever done that." Ethan stood firm. "You called it destiny. I call it choice." The consul's body started to fade, turning into particles of light. His last words echoed through the hall. "You have freed it. But you cannot control what comes next." The heart began to beat again, but this time it sounded different, slower, softer, almost alive. Lira reached out and touched Ethan's arm. "You stopped him, but the heart is awake now. We don't know what it wants." Ethan looked at the glowing sphere. Inside it, faint shapes moved. Human, alien, something in between. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing. "Then we'll find out together," he said. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the chamber again. Cracks appeared on the walls. Energy veins crawled across the floor. Lira grabbed his hand. "We have to get out. The palace won't hold." They ran through the collapsing tunnels as the light followed them like a living storm. Behind them, the great chamber caved in, swallowing the consul's throne. The sound of the falling stone was like a heartbeat fading away. When they reached the surface, the twin suns were rising again, casting red light over the ruined towers. Ethan turned to see the palace sinking into the ground, swallowed by dust and silence. Lira looked at him, her voice trembling. "You broke the ritual, but his words might still be true. You freed the heart. What if it wasn't meant to sleep forever?" Ethan stared at the horizon where the light still shimmered faintly. "Then I guess we just woke something older than all of us." The wind carried the last echo of the palace's fall, and with it the promise that their fight was far from over. The sky over the consul's estate burned with strange colors. Waves of red and gold twisted through the clouds like living fire. Ethan and Lira stood among the ruins, breathing hard, their faces lit by the fading glow of the collapsing palace. The ground beneath them trembled again, and the air grew thick with an energy that hummed like 1,000 heartbeats. Lira looked back toward the smoking horizon. "It's not over," she said quietly. "The heart is awake now. The curse has no master, and that makes it dangerous. Ethan wiped dust from his face. Then we end it before it spreads. Before she could answer, the earth split open nearby. A beam of golden light shot into the sky. From the center of the crack rose massive shapes made of metal and stone, their eyes glowing with the same red fire as the heart. They were guardians, ancient machines built to protect the relic. Lira pulled Ethan back. Those are the keepers. They are drawn to the blood of the bound. The machines moved with slow, heavy steps. The air shook with every motion. One turned its head toward them, scanning with a bright beam. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Run. They ran through the shattered gardens, dodging falling pillars and bursts of light. Behind them, the guardians followed, their voices deep and hollow, speaking in a language neither could understand. The ground pulsed under their feet as if the world itself was alive. They reached the outer cliffs where the twin suns reflected off a wide river of silver. Lira stopped and turned to face the sky. We can't run forever. The heart is inside us now. It's searching for balance. Ethan looked at her. Then tell me how to stop it. Her golden eyes glowed faintly. We can't stop it with weapons. We have to calm it. It feeds on emotion, fear, anger, hatred. That's what turns it into a curse. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to slow his racing thoughts. Then we give it something else to feed on. Before he could speak again, one of the guardians reached the cliff. It raised a massive hand and struck the ground. The shockwave threw them both off their feet. Ethan hit the rocky edge and felt pain shoot through his arm. Lira screamed his name and grabbed him before he could fall into the glowing river below. The guardian raised its arm again, preparing to strike, but a sudden burst of blue light shot from Lyra's hands. Her body shone with energy, her skin turning almost transparent. The mark on her chest blazed like a small sun. Ethan stared in awe. Lira, what are you doing? Her voice shook. I'm using what's left of the binding. It connects me to the heart. If I can guide it, I can make it stop. She raised her arms higher. The guardians froze mid-step, their eyes flickering. For a moment, the air went still. Then a low hum spread across the valley. The red light faded into soft white. The great machines sank slowly back into the earth, their bodies turning to dust. But the effort drained her. She fell to her knees, trembling. Ethan rushed to her side and held her. Her pulse was weak, her breathing shallow. You did it, he whispered. You stopped them. Her voice was faint. Not for long. The curse still lives in the heart. It needs balance. It needs both of us. A sharp pain struck Ethan's wrist. The mark of the union flared again. A voice echoed in his mind, not angry, but sad. Complete the circle. Free the heart, or be consumed by it. Lira looked up at him, her eyes full of light. There's one way. If we both offer our life force together, we can release it instead of containing it. It will finally rest. Ethan shook his head. No, you'll die. She smiled weakly. So will you. But something greater will live. Before he could stop her, she placed her hands over his, their marks connected, glowing brighter than the sun's. A beam of pure light burst upward, reaching into the clouds. The ground stopped shaking. The sky turned clear. Ethan felt warmth spread through his chest. Not pain, but peace. He saw flashes of memories that were not his. The first builders of the heart, the moment they sealed it, their hope for unity. When the light faded, the guardians were gone. The valley was silent. Lira lay still in his arms, her skin pale but her expression calm, as if asleep. Ethan looked around. The curse was gone. The air was pure again. But deep in the wind, he heard the faint echo of her voice. You freed me. Now free yourself. He closed his eyes, holding her close as the first morning light touched the ruins. The heart was finally quiet, but his own heart had never felt heavier. The morning after the light faded, the land was quiet. The twin suns rose slowly over the ruins of the consul's estate, painting the sky in soft gold. The air no longer carried the hum of the curse. The machines were gone. The rivers ran clear again. But Ethan sat among the broken stones, holding Lyra's still form, not ready to let her go. Hours passed before she stirred. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly before turning back to their natural gold. She looked confused, weak, but alive. Ethan froze for a moment, hardly believing it. Then relief washed over him like rain. "You're awake," he whispered. Lyra's voice was soft. The heart released me. It gave back what it took. It said balance was restored. Ethan helped her sit up. She looked around at the open land that had once been the consul's palace. Nothing remained except a single tower, cracked but standing. The sky above it shimmered faintly, like an unseen power still lingered there. Lira sighed. "It's finally over." Ethan nodded, but deep inside he felt it wasn't truly finished. Something about the consul's last words still echoed in his mind. "You freed it, but you cannot control what comes next." They spent the next few days rebuilding what they could. Survivors from nearby villages came, unsure what had happened but grateful that the ground no longer burned and the skies were calm again. They bowed to Lira, calling her the last heir of the house that ended the curse. Ethan stayed by her side, helping with repairs, guiding the people, teaching them what he knew. At night they sat near the glowing river, the same one that had once threatened to swallow them. The water reflected the stars like silver glass. Lira often sat in silence, watching the ripples move. "I used to think my bloodline brought only destruction," she said one night. "But maybe this was what it was meant to do, to end the old world and begin a new one." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then let's build that new world together." She looked at him with a small, tired smile. "Would you stay here, human? This world is not your home." Ethan looked at the horizon. "Maybe not, but I think home is where you choose to stand. And right now, this is where I need to be." Lira leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder. "Then we rebuild not as consul's heirs and human guests, but as equals." Days turned into weeks. The valley began to bloom again. Plants that had withered during the curse grew strong and bright. The air felt lighter. Birds returned to the trees. For the first time since his arrival on this alien world, Ethan felt peace. But peace rarely stays forever. One evening, while Ethan worked near the ruins of the palace tower, a soft hum filled the air. It came from the ground beneath him, the same sound he remembered from the heart chamber, but faint, distant, almost like a heartbeat buried deep below. He froze. Lira heard it too. She stepped beside him, eyes wide. "The heart?" Ethan placed his hand on the ground. It pulsed once, slow and gentle. He stood quietly for a moment, then looked at her. "It's alive, but it doesn't feel angry anymore," Lira nodded. "Maybe it's not a curse now. Maybe it's something watching over us." As they stood together under the twilight sky, a small holographic projection flickered to life above the broken tower. It showed the consul's image, faint and ghostly. His voice echoed through the air. "You have done what I could not. The curse is broken, but power never dies, and it changes shape. Guard it well, or it will return." The image faded, leaving only silence. Ethan and Lira looked at each other. The message wasn't a threat. It was a warning, a reminder that peace was a fragile gift. Later that night, as stars filled the sky, Lira spoke quietly. "The heart gave us another chance. What we do now will decide what kind of world rises after this." Ethan nodded. "Then let's make it a world where no one is bound by old laws again. Not humans, not your people, no one," she smiled. "Then that will be our promise." The wind carried their words into the glowing night. The land that had once been cursed was now reborn. The stars above shone brighter, and for the first time, Ethan felt they were not watching him in judgment. They were watching in hope. The human and the alien stood side by side at the edge of the silver river, their reflections blending into one. Two worlds that were never meant to meet had found balance at last, and far beneath their feet, deep in the earth, the heart of the world pulsed once more, calm, alive, waiting for the future they would build together.